Football or soccer is the most watched sport in the world, right? Except, when you actually go country by country, football is only number one about 40% of the time. In more than half the nations of the world, what people actually sit down and watch is something else entirely. We surveyed 35 countries. Football tops maybe 14 of them. The rest? Baseball owns 4 countries. Basketball owns 3. Cricket, 3. Ice hockey, 2. And then you get the ones that defy categories altogether. Mongolian wrestling, Finnish military baseball, a 680-year-old Turkish oil wrestling festival. The global sports map is far stranger than you've been told. Let's start where most people expect football, but with a story they don't know. On the 26th of October, 1863, at the Freemasons Tavern in London, a man named Ebenezer Cobb Morley drafted 13 laws for a new sport. At a second meeting, Blackheath's representative defended the right to kick opponents in the shins. When he was outvoted, Blackheath walked out and eventually helped found rugby instead. Football didn't reach Brazil through the British Empire. It arrived in a suitcase. In October 1894, Charles Miller, Santos-born son of a Scottish railway engineer, came home from boarding school in Southampton, carrying 2 footballs, a ball pump, and the Hampshire FA rulebook. The first organized match on Brazilian soil, São Paulo Railway 4, São Paulo Gas 2, played April 1895. Miller's signature heel flick trick is still called a chilera, a Charlie thing, in Brazilian football today. Argentina's legal national sport, by a 1953 decree from Juan Perón, is not football. It's pato, a 17th century gaucho game originally played on horseback with a live duck sewn into a leather bag. Games were so violent that the Catholic Church denied Christian burial to players killed in knife fights, yet over 90% of Argentines have never seen a pato match. Football's 2022 World Cup parade drew 4 to 5 million people into Buenos Aires. The Italian word for football, calcio, doesn't come from English. It comes from calcio storico fiorentino, a game codified in 1580 by Count Giovanni de' Bardi. On the 17th of February 1530, the Florentines played it in Piazza Santa Croce, specifically to taunt Emperor Charles V, whose army was besieging the city. The game still runs every June, bare-knuckle brawls and all, right in front of the same church. In France, the 2022 World Cup final drew 29.4 million viewers, the biggest French TV audience ever. But the Tour de France, invented in 1903 as a newspaper marketing stunt during a circulation war, reaches 42.5 million French viewers cumulatively each year. The yellow jersey? It matches the yellow newsprint of Lotto, the paper that created the race. Football wins the peaks. Cycling wins the year. Now here's where it gets different. Ireland, a European country, a football-playing continent, and yet the most watched sporting event in Ireland is not football, not rugby, not the Euros. It's hurling. The 2024 All-Ireland Senior Hurling Final peaked at 1.23 million viewers on RTE. In a country of 5 million, that's a 77% share. No soccer match came close. The Gaelic Athletic Association was founded at 3 p.m. on the 1st of November 1884 in the billiards room of Miss Lizzie Hayes' commercial hotel in Thurles. Founder Michael Cusack deliberately chose Samhain, the pagan festival when Celtic warriors' power was said to die, to symbolize the rebirth of Irish heroes. Cusack was later the model for the citizen in James Joyce's Ulysses. The GAA today has over 1,600 clubs and is the largest amateur sporting organization on Earth. Cuba's baseball origin reads like a spy novel. In 1858, an 11-year-old sugar heir named Nemesio Gio was sent to boarding school in Mobile, Alabama. He returned in 1864, slipping past a Union naval blockade, carrying the first baseball bat and ball the island had ever seen. 5 years later, the Spanish colonial governor banned the sport as anti-Spanish and pro-insurrectionary. That ban is precisely what turned baseball into Cuba's symbol of independence. The Dominican Republic got baseball from Cuban refugees fleeing the 10 Years' War in the 1870s. Today, the DR produces more MLB players than any country outside the United States, around 400 and counting. The small city of San Pedro de Macorís, population roughly 200,000, has produced more MLB shortstops per capita than anywhere on Earth. Japan's baseball actually predates both Caribbean stories. In 1872, an American Civil War veteran and English professor named Horace Wilson introduced the game at a school in Tokyo. Today, NPB draws roughly 22 million fans. When the Dodgers played the Cubs in Tokyo in 2025, NHK averaged 24 million viewers per game, their largest regular season baseball audience ever. South Korea's KBO League was founded on the 27th of March, 1982, with a ceremonial first pitch by military dictator Chun Doo-hwan. The league was conceived as political theater, a distraction from the aftermath of the Gwangju massacre. It became a cultural juggernaut instead. In 2024, attendance hit a record 10 million. And here's the demographic twist. Women were 54% of ticket buyers, with women in their 20s alone comprising a quarter of stadium attendance. Afghanistan's cricket story might be the most remarkable origin in all of sports. Before 1979, the game was virtually unknown there. Afghan refugees learned it in the camps around Peshawar during the Soviet War. Watching Pakistan's 1992 World Cup win on black and white television sets was the moment the fuse was lit. When the Taliban seized power in 1996, they banned every sport, except cricket. Cricket whites were considered modest. Many Taliban leaders had themselves grown up in those same refugee camps with a love of the game. The pattern held when the Taliban returned in 2021. Men's cricket survived again. Afghanistan reached the 2024 T20 World Cup semifinals. Rashid Khan is now the all-time leading T20I wicket-taker. Lithuania might be the most basketball-obsessed country on the planet per capita. The 2015 Eurobasket final was watched by 41% of the entire population. It traces to one man, Frank Lubin, born in the U.S. to Lithuanian immigrants, gold medalist at the 1936 Berlin Olympics, who spent 6 months coaching in Kaunas. Lithuania won Eurobasket in 1937 and 1939. Under Soviet occupation, 4 of the 5 starters on the 1988 Seoul Olympics gold medal USSR basketball team were Lithuanian. At Barcelona 1992, the newly free nation needed uniforms but had no money. The Grateful Dead's Rex Foundation donated $5,000. Lithuania wore the now iconic Skullman tie-dye shirts on the medal podium after beating the post-Soviet team 82-78 for bronze. Arvydas Sabonis said, "The medal in Seoul was gold, but this bronze is our soul." The Philippines is perhaps the strangest basketball story of all. Average male height, roughly 5'4". NBA brand awareness, 99%. The 2021 NBA Finals drew 8.4 million Filipino viewers per game, the largest NBA audience outside the United States. And here's the twist. Basketball was introduced in 1910 as a women's sport. Catholic Church objections to women's bloomers flipped the gender of the game by the early 1920s. In 1920, Finnish nationalist Lauri Taco Piccola invented pesapallo, Finnish baseball. The pitcher tosses the ball straight up next to the batter, not across a distance. Why? Piccola designed the game as hidden military training. Throwing mimics, lobbing grenades. Diving mimics taking cover. 2 strikes make you wounded. A strikeout is called killed. It was a demonstration sport at the 1952 Helsinki Olympics. Today, men's Superpieces is Finland's 3rd most watched sports league, after football and hockey. The women's Superpieces is the country's most watched women's league. And in 2024, a baseball from Wish meme comparing pesapallo to American baseball racked up 47 million views. Mongolian Bok wrestling appears on bronze plates from the Xiongnu Empire, over 2,000 years old, and is described in the Secret History of the Mongols from 1240. During Nayadam, broadcast nationwide each July, up to 1:02 wrestlers compete in single elimination. There are no weight classes. A 70-kilo wrestler can face a 160-kilo one. Every match begins and ends with the eagle dance, arms spread wide, imitating a falcon in flight. Wrestlers wear the Zodog, an open-fronted jacket that deliberately exposes the chest. Legend has it the jacket was redesigned after a female wrestler once won disguised as a man. Champions hold titles like Elephant, Garuda, Lion, and Titan. UNESCO inscribed Naadam on the Intangible Heritage List in 2010. Guinness recognizes Kirk Pinar as the world's oldest continuously sanctioned sporting competition, dating to 1346. The origin legend: during a 14th century Ottoman campaign, two soldiers wrestled from dawn to midnight and both collapsed dead from exhaustion. Their comrades buried them under a fig tree. Returning years later, they found 40 crystal-clear springs at the grave. Hence, Kirkpinar, 40 springs. Each July near Ijirn, roughly 1,000 wrestlers compete wearing leather kispit trousers, bodies coated in olive oil. Win the golden belt 3 consecutive times and you keep it permanently, plus about $100,000 in cash. UNESCO inscribed this one too, in 2010. Football dwarfs it on total Turkish viewership, but Kirkpinar has been running for 680 years. Football has been around for 160. Peter the Great played a bandy-like game on skates on the frozen Neva River in early 1700s St. Petersburg. When the USSR adopted Canadian hockey after World War II, coach Anatoly Tarasov told his players, "Don't go to Canada, use Russian bandy skills." The fast skating, crisp passing, and accurate shooting that defined Soviet hockey dominance came directly from bandy. Russia still has an estimated 1 million bandy players. It's the only sport formally patronized by the Russian Orthodox Church. Kenya's most watched sport is English Premier League football. But the real story is the Kalenjin people, roughly 5 million, about 12% of Kenya's population, who have won approximately 3/8 of all international men's distance running prizes ever awarded. As one author put it, 17 American men in history have broken 2:10 in the marathon. 32 Kalenjin did it in October 2011 alone. On the 10th of July, 1858, Tom Wills wrote a letter to Bell's Life in Victoria, calling for a winter sport to keep cricketers fit. The rules he codified in May 1859 predate both the FA's 1863 code and rugby's 1871 code, making Aussie rules the oldest codified football on Earth. The 2024 Grand Final drew 4.02 million viewers, Australia's biggest TV audience of the year. So what does the world actually watch? Not what you'd guess. It watches a game learned in refugee camps, a sport designed to teach you to throw grenades, a 680-year-old wrestling match in olive oil, a tie-dyed podium financed by the Grateful Dead. The answer to what's the world's favorite sport isn't a sport. It's a story. And almost every country has a different one.